That looks alive to me. Thank God. Okay.
We're live. Okay, gosh. Hello, everyone.
Jesus. Sorry about the delay. Yeah, you sit there.
Well, we had a few technical issues there. I'm sorry about that. It's 9 minutes late. That's fine.
All right, sorry about that. Well, hello, everyone. Sorry we're late. Thank you so much for coming for the launch party for my book Featherhood, which is being published by Scribner now in the United States and Canada. So hooray.
Yeah.
And here's to all of you. Sorry again
This is
that we are late.
Charlie's big American and
This is-
Canadian launch. So,
Yeah, so
well
here's
done.
to-
Very
Yeah. Cheers.
many
Cheers,
congratulations.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Cheers
And
to
I'm not
Lincoln.
having a drink. I'm on dry January. Dry holy.
yeah. Well, here's to everyone watching, and thank you. I thought we should try and make this as much of a party as we can. So there will be words, there'll be music, there are prizes to give away.
Alinka has worn her best party dress.
My daughter has worn her best party dress. But before we get into all of that, I just wanted to say a couple of thank yous. First of all, to everyone at Scribner who helped this book hatch, especially my fantastic editor Valerie Steicher, as well as Zoe Cole and Kate. Cheers!
Cheers!
And Kate Lloyd in marketing and publicity. It's been lovely sort of watching from afar as the book lands in North America. So thank you too to all the book bloggers who have been posting about it and for all the lovely reviews that you've been writing. It's been really, really wonderful to see. Now, for anyone who hasn't yet had a chance to read Featherhood, it's a memoir about fathers and birds, and it's really 3 stories threaded together into one. The first thread running through the book is the story of a talking magpie called Benzine, who quite improbably became a member of this family. My partner, Jana, brought her home one day in spring as a sickly chick, and she very quickly became... Where are you going? She very quickly became this sort of dominant, chaotic force in my life, much like a toddler. In folklore, magpies are quite closely associated with the devil, and it turns out there's a reason for that. The second thread running through the story is the story of my biological father, who was this eccentric poet and magician called Heathcote, who vanished in the dead of night when I was a baby. I never really knew the man, but when I was trying to find out how to care for this magpie that's on the cover of the book, I discovered that he too had had this intense bond with a member of the crow family, in his case a jackdaw.
Wow.
I know, wow, an amazingly improbable coincidence.
Yeah.
Yes, that helped me to finally understand the man who abandoned me when I was a baby.
Yeah.
Yes. And the third thread running through this book is my own journey towards fatherhood. I was lucky enough to have 2 fathers, one a mentally unstable genius who was never there, and the other a perfectly stable genius who was always there. So it's a story of nature versus nurture and birds across generations. Have I missed anything, or is that...
I think that's
And a fantastic mummy, too.
And, of course, a fantastic mother, yeah. And, the next book can be called Motherhood. Yeah, but this one is Featherhood. And I thought, Alinka, are you drunk?
Yes.
We do not give the baby alcohol.
So I thought maybe the best thing...
would be as
to
if
do-
you need if Alinka had some
Yes.
distracting-
Alinka, do you want to go off stage for a little bit?
Alinka, sure.
Oh, okay.
Wants to someone to take off, basically.
Alinka, I can take it.
Come, Baba. You're not in control.
Mark.
Alinka, what about these? Should we go to Catskills?
Mark.
So, is this really a party if half the guests are gone?
Well, at least we got rid of the animals.
So we're going to have words, music and prizes. I thought before all of that, I'll just do a very short reading from the book that gives really a flavour of what life is like when a magpie is a member of the family. And this is sort of from very early on, when she just was learning for the first time how to fly.
It's not chapter 19 then.
It is not chapter 19, where I'm told the book really gets good. His early solo flights are conducted with all the grace of a chicken thrown from a barn roof. Clumsy, noisy, bottom-heavy tumbles from shelves and tabletops. But within days he begins to master up as well as down. He flies joyfully to the windowsill in our bedroom to bask in the afternoon sun and snap at bluebottles. Up to the highest bookshelves in the living room to hide scraps of mints within the loose dust covers of hardbacks. Onto the rim of the bathroom sink, talons clicking on porcelain, to watch with apparent interest as I shower, brush my teeth, or pee. What is it like to have a meat-eating bird gazing intently at your penis? It is unnerving. The bird's new flying abilities add a certain amount of tension to daily life. Nothing is now safe from his destructive curiosity. No calm moment protected from the possibility of a sudden rush of wind and the feeling of talons sinking into your scalp. Anything we might be holding, he considers fair game. Swooping down from his shelf-top crow's nest to dip his beak into coffee, tea, wine, even soup. He can be devious about it too, as much of a trickster as the myths and legends about magpies suggest. If I manage to frustrate one of his airborne assaults, he resorts to the sneak attack, feigning total disinterest until I inevitably forget about him and his untoward intentions. The instant I leave whatever bird-unfriendly thing it is, a glass of beer or a tumbler of whiskey, unattended, he falls like a bolt from the blue and lands beak deep. Whenever this happens, which is often, I'm always more amazed than I am annoyed. Who knew that a bird could be capable of such duplicity? Now that he can fly and feed himself, it should be time to start thinking seriously about when, how, and where we should release him. The junkyard he came from, our garden, my parents' farm. But the thought of life without this chaotic, inquisitive, destructive creature makes me more than a little sad. Maybe, I say to Jana when she brings the subject up, we don't need to be in such a rush. What would be the harm in keeping him around just for a little while longer? The bird seems quite happy to carve out his own patch of wilderness in our home. At dusk, he uses his new powers to flap from my shoulder to the windowsill to the rim of the enormous pot that balances over our bed. The ficus grows sideways from the wall, its branches fixed in place by some clever mechanism Jana has contrived to make it seem as if we sleep beneath a forest canopy. The bird inches along one of its slender brown stems until he finds a comfortable spot. Settling in for the night, he fluffs up his feathers, plumping the pillow of himself, and tucks his head over his wing. There's no question of turning the lights on to read in bed. Instead, I read the shadows on the ceiling, seeking out one that is longer, sharper, and more solid than the others, watching the magpie as he sleeps and, who knows, perhaps even dreams. Well, thank you. Alinka, you can come back now. So that's a short snippet of what it's like when a magpie joins the family. Romany, what's your fondest memory of Benzine the magpie being part of this family?
Maybe.
When you ate the cake with all the flies that she'd hidden in it?
Except that was a creative embellishment, Charlie.
It was not.
Maybe her birthday when I wore the goggles
Oh,
and,
yes.
and read Crow.
Yes, that was lovely. So I thought maybe Benzine also loved music, actually. She was a great music fan. I thought maybe, Daddy, we could have a song now,
like a
sort
song?
of a birdie song.
So, well, it's got a mention of a blackbird.
Yeah.
In it. Okay. It's well known, not by me. It's actually written by someone called Eleanor Farjan in the 30s, I think. But we all know it from Cat Stevens. Anyway, Yusuf Islam as he is, of course. Sorry.
Alinka.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet paused. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world.
Daisy.
On my very nice new Martin.
That was lovely. Thank you very, very much for that.
He's having a nervous breakdown.
So my publisher have been running a prize giveaway to win. What do you see? To win 10 signed copies of this book, and they lights, yeah,
yes.
lights, yeah.
Wow.
You want to pick one? You can try.
Oh, go and
Pick.
try.
Here you go. Yum. Oh, it made you sneeze. Bless you.
Bless you. Gesundheit.
Anyway, chew. Here, do you want to hold this? Yes, yeah, you're welcome. So 10 signed copies up for grabs, and we're going to announce the winners now. To be in a chance for winning one, you had to submit a question, and we have picked the winning question. So Romany, would you read them out if anyone else wants to chip in with the answers? That's also fine.
Is it a fastest round?
Oh yeah, it could be beat.
What,
buzzer.
quick fire?
Yeah, quick fire round.
Hands
Go on
on the
then.
buzzers. Okay, so our first winning
And
question.
say who is.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I'm actually a critically
This
acclaimed writer.
anonymous
I'm not a moron.
question. Come claim your prize. Okay, so this first winning question is from D. Hayden 95.
Congratulations, D. Hayden 95.
D. Hayden 95 says, I'm currently working on a memoir about my father, but I'm struggling to write it with both love and honesty. What struggles did you face writing this memoir?
I mean, memoir writing is a very difficult thing to do, because you're not just writing. No one really, except perhaps for anchorites, live their life in total isolation. You're always writing about other people's stories, and so there's always a very fine line that you're treading between art and exploitation. So it really, really is a sort of ethical minefield that I think I just about managed to weave my way through, but there really are no black and white rules. It's quite a grey area in terms of what's right and wrong. Everyone here is imprisoned in the book in one way or another.
But luckily for you, we all believe that everyone owns their story.
Exactly, yeah. only one family member is still not talking to me, but I've got quite a lot, so I think, it's an inevitability when you're writing a memoir. Next question.
Next question is from Super Dumb. Nice.
Congratulations, Super Dumb.
We had a one-winged crow live with us for a year, and he was very chatty. He was also smelly. Could you talk about Benzine's hygiene?
Yes, or lack thereof. I mean, we've talked about the cake stuffed with flies. And maggots. I mean, magpies are fantastically intelligent birds, but not quite clever enough to have the consideration not to poo in your hair or on the banister. Nina, what do you think was the most disgusting thing?
It's really hard to toilet train them, isn't it?
It's pretty difficult, yeah. What was the most disgusting thing Benzine ever did?
I mean, she just used to hide old bits of meat, and you wouldn't find them until they're especially in your shoes, and you sort of don't really think there might be anything down there, and then you put your foot down into like a week-old meat. It's quite disgusting. But then actually the bird itself is quite clean. I mean, they do shit, but they shit in quite specific places usually, like very specific places.
On top of the wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, at least they choose spots, but they themselves are obviously quite clean. They keep clean. It's just they're I would say they're quite clean animals.
Yeah.
But
and they don't really smell.
comparatively, their shit is pretty harmless. It's not so offensive, is it?
No, it's not like a
white
dog.
drops
It's
you
not like a dog with
wipe up.
wings.
It's
not
like someone
smelly.
comes back to shit.
Yeah,
It
weird.
always comes back to shit on
Yeah.
this. It's like someone flicking pancake batter at you occasionally.
It does build up, though. It accumulates. Next question.
Next question is from Susie Q Law. And they say, what's the story behind the book cover?
So, where did that book cover go? So the story behind the book cover, that is a picture taken, I think, on the day that we took Benzine the magpie here to this farm to release her, and we let her go, and she flew in a great big loop up into the air and came back and landed right on my arm again. And that was the story of her being let go, basically. And we tried for quite a long time, and I didn't quite realise it. But she had become imprinted, which meant that she thought she was more human than magpie. And, the right thing to do if you find a baby bird is to call a professional wildlife rescuer and hand it over to them, which is something that we didn't do, and this was the result, was a bird that was more boomerang than bird.
I see someone itching for a photo credit.
Oh yes, taken by... The photo was taken by my mum, of course, yeah. And it is a very good photo.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, our next winner is Christine Reviews. Christine says, how did you know that magpie would be a good pet?
Exactly, which is something I want to say, which is a magpie is a terrible pet. They should not be made pets of. They're too intelligent, they're extremely destructive, and the best place for them is definitely up in the trees. Having said that, I feel incredibly fortunate to have shared my life with this bird, because they are the most fantastically intelligent and charming creatures, but definitely not to be kept as pets.
Okay, and then our next question is Rhonda Reads. Rhonda asks, do you have any special traditions you follow when writing?
You can answer this one as well, because my mum's book, A Theatre for Dreamers, came out last year as...
Oh, I guess, yes, 2020.
2020,
yes.
To great critical acclaim. My only writing tradition is to get earplugs and shove them into my ears as far as I possibly can, because I cannot stand any noise
Yeah, you
entering
even
my
have
head.
a favourite brand
I've
of
really
earplugs. That's how.
Burnt through a lot of different types of earplugs, achieving silence. Actually, what are your?
Oh, I had to write somewhere which obviously doesn't have access to the internet. And but I do all sorts of things. Like I had with that last book, I lit certain candles that reminded me of Idra. I
Yeah.
had stones, and I tend to sort of have all sorts of strange rituals.
Yeah, no, mine is only a desperate attempt to achieve silence.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read the room. Chrissy's book blog asks, "What is the most rewarding thing about being a father?"
Well, I think it's the most rewarding thing actually is just the love that you get to experience and the love that you feel for your child. Really, that is the answer to that question, I think. Daddy, would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just
Couldn't agree more.
the glow of love
The
within.
glow of love. Yes. But that goes both ways, I'm sure.
Yep, the love. The love.
Aeroplane.
You found a plane.
It dims sometimes. But it
Okay.
Bring it.
We Are Wild Wonder asks, "How do you feel about crows?"
I mean, crows are just the most fantastically intelligent and fascinating creatures. The whole crow family, which includes ravens, crows, jackdaws, magpies, the lesser-known chough, which has a reputation for carrying embers onto thatched roofs in order to start house fires. Both as creatures themselves and in terms of the culture that surrounds them, they're incredibly rich. Something which I explore in this book.
the raven, the senior female raven at the Tower of London has gone missing
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, and they think she's had it.
Merlina
She's quite old.
Merlina is no more. And the allegedly ancient legend says that if there are no ravens at the Tower of England, at the Tower of London, then England will fall, which is actually, it's not an ancient thing. It was invented
Yeah.
in the 20th century, but you know,
But
that's
there are still other ravens.
there are still
there.
other ravens.
They're
yeah.
not out of ravens.
Yeah.
Completely.
Alexander the Great ignored a flock of dead ravens at his peril. At the gates of Babylon, there was a flock of dead ravens, and his seers said, you know, watch it, mate, and he ignored them, and then 2 weeks later he was dead. So, you know, maybe we should pay attention to this dead raven. Rich, culturally rich.
Books Are My Solace asks, "What book, if any, did you feel changed your life, or at least offered a unique perspective on life?"
What books have changed my life? A book this year that's completely changed my perspective on life, and he definitely doesn't need any boosting because it's completely gone through the roof, his sales. But Merlin Sheldrake's book on fungi, entangled life, has really changed the way I look at that whole order of life forms.
Bring it.
Okay. Matthew LaChapelle says, "Hi Charlie, what is the most inspiring memoir that you have read?"
I mean, 3 memoirs really went into the writing of this book. One was Philip Roth's Patrimony, which is this very intense book about the death of his father. The other one was obviously Helen Macdonald's H is for Hawk, which is about a dead father and getting a hawk to deal with the grief. And then another book that really was a watershed read for me was Lydia Yuknovich's The Chronology of Water, which is nothing really to do with anything that I write about, but she just writes about really raw experiences in such an unflinching way that it gave me permission to write this book, which is also in parts quite raw. So sorry, I said 3. I was meant to say 1. Anything else?
There's snacks for the dog.
So, last winner, My Humdrum Existence, asks, "How do you feel now that the world reads and shares Featherhood?"
Well, like I said before, it's a book about birds, but it's also a book about, you know, some very, very, very deep emotional things. So it's quite a complicated set of feelings, but I'm really, really excited to be reaching people in the United States and Canada, and I'd love to hear from people who have read it and appreciated it, because one of the most wonderful things is hearing from people who the book has spoken to, because, you know, when you're writing a book, you're really, it's quite a lonely activity, and so it is just lovely to hear from people and hear what it means to them. that's all the winners. That's 10 winners. Congratulations, everyone, and cheers to all of you.
How do they get their winnings?
I don't know. Someone will be in touch. I think.
Yeah, and this is your launch.
and
So
yeah.
here's to you and Featherhood.
Here's to Featherhood.
Here's to
High may it
Featherhood.
fly.
Yeah, and here's to all of
Cheers.
you, without whom it definitely would not have been possible.
Cheers.
Cheers, Alinka.
And
Cheers, Alinka.
Cheers, Linka.
Well, that's it. That was fun. It was short and sweet. I think maybe we should do something like this again, but with a different focus. Maybe
Yeah.
Romany, focus on you next week.
Yes,
All right, let's end there. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Well done.
Oh, good. Well done.
Yeah, was that good?
Yeah, it was really good. It was really such a funny one.
I like the little intro.